Good day, dear friends. You are on the Ruslan Belov channel. We continue our daily coverage of the frontline situation. Today, we will also analyze the situation in the Kursk region, as the main battle is currently unfolding there. However, we will briefly touch on other sections of the front as well. Without further ado, let's open the map. The situation in the Kursk region is developing extremely rapidly. If you have never seen a frontline collapse before, here it is. A clear example right in front of you. In just 2 days of the offensive, the Russian army has reclaimed 12 settlements and more than 100 square kilometers of territory. Just yesterday alone, the Russian army took 6 settlements and 53 square kilometers. Even Ukrainian sources, after a long silence, perhaps waiting for new talking points, suddenly started acknowledging this by the evening. And believe me, these numbers will only grow. Now let's get into specifics. We will move from north to south. The north, battle for Malaya Lochnia. Yesterday, the battles for Malaya Lochnia ended. This was a very powerful fortified area, even more so than Pogrebki. And do you remember how long the battles for Pogrebki lasted? Almost 3 months. But how long did the battle for Malaya Lochnia last? Just 1 day. The day before yesterday, after taking Stara Sorochina and Viktorovka, Russian forces entered the village. By yesterday, they had established full control over the Ukrainian armed forces' logistics base. The Ukrainian troops fled south to Kazachia Lochnia. Footage of the Ukrainian army's retreat surfaced online yesterday. Many did not manage to escape as the Russian army advanced swiftly, cutting off all roads by morning. Both the highway and the railway were severed due to the Russian army's rapid advance from Lebedevka to the east and from the east to the west. Additionally, in one swift strike from Lebedevka, Russian forces captured the village of Lochnia, not to be confused with Malaya Lochnia. Strategic importance of Lochnia. This small village is located right by a water body, which enhances its defensive potential. Moreover, beyond this village lies a fortified defensive line, which includes dragon's teeth barriers. You can see the red line on the map. This is the established defensive line. However, the battle lasted only a few hours before Ukrainian troops collapsed under the pressure and retreated. This allowed Russian forces to cut off the main withdrawal routes from the north, including taking control of the Kubatkin hamlet. Additionally, Russian troops advanced from Cherkaskoye Porechnoye, capturing Pravda village, entering Ivashkovsky, and tightening the encirclement. In the morning, there was still a narrow escape corridor of 3.5 kilometers, but by evening it had shrunk to just 1.3 kilometers, too small to retreat through as it was exposed to fire from all sides, even small arms fire. As a result, any Ukrainian forces left at strongholds in Severny, who failed to withdraw in time, found themselves trapped. And this time, they did not put up a heroic last stand, they surrendered. Again, we saw footage of mass surrenders, which many of you have probably seen. In this way, the entire northern salient, covering 45 square kilometers from Malaya Lochnia to Kubatkin, was cleared. As of today, fighting continues for Ivashkovsky, but given its small size, it is likely already under Russian control by the time you watch this video. We are witnessing a complete collapse of the front line, meaning changes are occurring literally by the hour. Southern and eastern fronts, the collapse near Sudzha. The situation for the Ukrainian armed forces is even worse further south and east of Sudzha. 2 strongholds collapsed instantly, and 1 Ukrainian garrison ended up surrounded. Let me explain everything. Kazachia Lochnia. A failed defense plan. The situation in Kazachia Lochnia is dire for Ukrainian forces. They retreated from Malaya Lochnia, intending to establish a defensive line here. It seemed like a strong position. Given the village's size, they should have been able to hold off a breakthrough towards Sudzha. However, their plans were disrupted by an airborne assault via pipeline. Russian paratroopers landed not only in the northern part of Sudzha, but also in the village of Vitoraya Knyazhna, which is located right across the river. Additionally, an airstrike using a FAB-3000 bomb destroyed the bridge over this river. As a result, Ukrainian forces in Kazachia Lochnia found themselves completely cut off, trapped on an island. There appeared to be a road to Zayoleshnik, but it was only 900 meters from Vitoroye Knyazhevo, making it impossible to use without coming under fire. The only escape route was across open fields to the west. But that was also covered by fire from two sides, Vitoroe Kняževo and Sverdlikovo. There were also reports of Russian forces entering Bogdanovka, which indirectly suggests that the assault on Kazachya Loknya has already begun. Now, let's move on to the eastern flank. The Ukrainian armed forces are in trouble. Here as well, Martinovka is not just a village, but a powerful fortified area that the Ukrainian forces defended for months. Yet it collapsed in just one day. The Ukrainian troops fled, some by road, others across the fields. I'm talking about those retreating from Martinovka. Footage of a destroyed column appeared online the evening before yesterday, showing how they were fleeing and coming under fire. So Martinovka fell in a single day. Some Ukrainian troops managed to escape to Sudzha overnight, while those who didn't make it surrendered in the morning. There is also video footage confirming this, along with images of the Russian flag flying in the village, verifying complete Russian control. Why do American maps still mark the village as a grey zone despite video confirmation? Well, I don't know. Perhaps they're trying to soften the Ukrainian army's defeat to make it look less disastrous. After Martinovka, the battles for Mikhailovka began. They lasted barely half a day, and by evening, Russian troops had also taken control of the village. From there, the advance toward Mirny began. This village is directly adjacent to Sudzha. Some people were quick to claim that Mirny had already been captured yesterday, but this was inaccurate. Russian troops only entered the village this morning. At the time of recording, fighting was ongoing near the water tower on the eastern outskirts of the village. Undoubtedly, Mirny will likely fall soon as well. Again, I emphasize that the situation is highly dynamic. By the time you watch this, Mirny may already be back under Russian control. Further south, the long-suffering Makhnovka. Why long-suffering? Because battles for this village lasted over 2 months. Russian troops entered, were pushed back, and the cycle repeated. But now? It took just 2 days. Yes, just 2 days, and Makhnovka is now under Russian control. Fighting has already been reported in Zamoste, a village located south of Sudzha. The sequence is clear: first Makhnovka, then Zamoste, and finally Sudzha. This means that Sudzha's fate is sealed. Consider the situation. Russian airborne troops landed in the north and secured the city's industrial zone. Russian forces advanced from the east to Mirny, effectively blocking the city from that side. Makhnovka was taken in the south, and fighting is ongoing for Zamoste. In other words, Sudzha is now encircled from 3 sides. This is a total collapse, and the final assault on Sudzha is expected to begin within the next day or two, coming from all 3 directions simultaneously. The Ukrainian forces will likely be unable to regroup in time to offer serious resistance in the entire area. But let's not jump ahead. Everything will happen in due course. The southern sector, the only area without major changes. This is the only part of the Kursk region where no significant breakthroughs have occurred. Fighting continues on the outskirts of Guevo, but Russian forces have not yet entered the village itself. Summary as of 9 a.m. Moscow time, when this video was recorded, the Ukrainian armed forces still controlled 15 villages, the city of Sudzha, and approximately 268 square kilometers of territory. But these numbers will shrink by the end of the day. The number of villages under Ukrainian control will decrease, and so will the square kilometers they hold. The front line is collapsing, and Ukrainian forces are unable to stop it, and likely won't be able to at all. Main frontline update: Constantinople captured. In recent days, only one major event occurred along the primary front. After fierce battles, Russian forces secured full control over the village of Constantinople. Footage showed Russian flags flying in various parts of the settlement, confirming complete dominance. The next phase of the offensive will target the next heavily fortified stronghold, Bogatyr village. New details on Russia's special operation, Potok, pipeline infiltration. Some intriguing new details have emerged regarding a Russian special operation that deployed a large number of troops behind Ukrainian lines. Operation Potok details. Preparation took 3 weeks. Residual gas was removed from the pipeline and replaced with oxygen. Troops began infiltrating the pipeline on March 4th. They were inserted in small groups. The first group spent 4 days inside the pipeline. Over those 4 days, ammunition, equipment, and provisions were gradually moved through the pipeline. By the end of the operation, nearly 800 troops had been deployed through the pipeline. This maneuver allowed Russian forces to seize the industrial zone of Sudzha immediately, capture several villages to the north, and cause chaos and disarray among Ukrainian troops, ultimately playing a decisive role in the collapse of the front. Orychov direction, Russian gains. On the Orychov front, Russian forces have expanded their control north of Rabotino, advancing up to 2 kilometers toward Novodonilovka. This information is confirmed by footage published by the Ukrainian side, showing attacks on Russian forward positions using FPV drones. Kurakovo direction. This morning, Russian forces released footage of their assault towards the settlement of Constantinople. A storm group, after crossing the dry riverbed of the Suki Yali River, advanced toward the single-story residential area in the eastern part of the settlement. As a result, the entire area eastward up to the settlement of Ulakli has come under Russian control. Later, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported in its daily briefing that due to active and decisive actions, Constantinople came under the full control of the Vostok military grouping. Additionally, soldiers of the 36th Brigade of the 29th Army of the Russian Armed Forces displayed the national flag in the center of the settlement, further confirming Russia's firm and complete control over the area. Pokrovsk direction. Fierce battles continue on the approaches to Pokrovsk. Counterattacks are being recorded in the area of Uspanovka, along the Udaknaya Kotlina line, on the eastern outskirts of Peshanoe, and in the northern part of Shevchenko. However, no significant territorial gains have been made by either side. Additionally, according to available data, the center military grouping has deployed part of its reserves, which has allowed Russian forces to contain Ukrainian actions and reclaim some previously lost positions. We will continue monitoring the situation. Other frontline developments: Russian forces have expanded their zone of control north of Verkhnekamenskoye, advancing up to 1 kilometer from the direction of Zolotaryovka. This information is also confirmed by footage published by the Ukrainian side, showing FPV drone attacks on Russian forward positions. That's all for today's frontline updates. I bid you farewell and wish you a great working day.